Welcome to the EMN podcast, where philosophy meets disaster and uncomfortable truths meet the profession we call emergency management. This is not safe space thinking. This is the arena. Let's begin.
Good morning.
We're in the arena.
In the arena, I noticed that our thing says join us at IEM in Kentucky, but it won't be. It's going to be join us in IEM in
Long Beach. Well, I think maybe we need to change that.
I think so.
I think maybe it's time we get on that.
Yeah.
For all of our people out there who want to know what's next.
What's next? Long Beach is next.
Long Beach. Well, what's next? Well, dude, we're not even out of 2025. So what's next before the end of the year? What's next? Tell me.
Christmas.
We're not doing a book review?
We are. We should do the. You know what? I failed. You did the book review. You and I will do the book review.
You failed miserably.
I did.
But you know what? We get back up and we do it again.
Get back up and do it again. Now the book review is written. We did get the book review. We had people submit.
Yeah, it's all done. We just got to go live and share it.
We got to go live and share. That's all
we don't have to go live. We can record it and share it that way too.
I have some good books in our book review, by the way.
So do I. I have some good books. I guarantee you that the books that I put on there are some of those that an EM necessarily wouldn't be reaching for.
I know that Dr.
different.
Randy Collins has put some books in that book review.
He did.
Mark Baker put some books on the book review.
Yep. And Baker, Baker does the Baker's Dozen every year.
Mm-hmm.
And he reviews a book every month. He reads that book and then he reviews that book. So it's pretty amazing, actually.
You did a book review this month too. You did some really good books this year, by the way.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on with EMN and stuff that we do, and the writers that we have, and the talent that we got in the EMN media network that people probably don't know about yet. We just got a new one this morning.
This morning, Thomas. Yeah. Looking forward. Thomas is a new emergency manager, a new father, and looking forward to hearing what he has to say about that. And also, a side note, besides Thomas, is we're also going to be doing a live event, right, for our paid subscribers. And Dan's going to be there. I know that.
Well, you might scare them off now. Telling them I'm going to be there, they might not show up.
Well, why? Why wouldn't they show up? Because Dan, everybody loves you, Dan. You're a big bear. Yeah.
Not everybody knows that though. So yeah.
On December 17th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, we will be live. If you are a paid subscriber, join us. We're going to be chit-chatting just about everything emergency management. And I'd love to see you guys there. And if you are a member, you will be able to get the information. If you join today, or even if you join on the 17th, you'll be able to get the information. And if you're an IEM member, your membership is only $25. So if you join IEM, you even get a better discount for to join EMN.
Or if you're already an IEM member, come on over. You're getting a great discount. That's a deep freaking discount.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a deep discount. That's like 75% off.
75% off, absolutely.
That's a deep discount. and people don't understand that. You need to let them know.
If
you're not a member, you should be a member, number one. Number two, if you're not a paid member, we would truly appreciate you being a paid member because you would help drive EMN in how we do things. But the deep discount that we're giving for being an IAEM member is fantastic.
Yeah. And the money goes to keeping the lights on, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, right now, just keeping the lights on because we're paying that out of pocket. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know what? It's worth it.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's worth it. It's one of those things that I talk about all the time. Like, man, it'd be nice, if we could get some paying customers, if we could make a little bit of money. But when it comes down to it, we pay for it out of our pocket because we care.
Because we love it.
We love what we do. So
yeah, love it. But you know what we're here to talk about today?
I'm excited. What?
We're here to talk about antifragile.
Antifragility.
What does it mean to be an antifragile emergency manager?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. But for me, and and me and you're big fans of his book, Antifragility from Nicholas Taleb. Yeah, Taleb, however you want to say it, but I say
Tomato.
Taleb. Anyway,
Probably correct.
Antifragility, big fan of his books, all of it. He's got a series of books, but this book, when we talk how we refer to it quite often when it comes to anti-fragility, and a lot of it boils down to how you define resilience. Now,
Oof.
for that, you got to define, how do you define resilience? Resilience is defined in so many different ways right now. It's a key word. It's one of those, those words that kind of hit the mainstream a few years back. Now everybody's using it, but they're using it in different ways. But what it means,
you have to makeup.
Really,
makeup that's resilient.
What's that?
You have makeup that's resilient. Resilient makeup.
Yeah. And do I look refreshed? Resilience is a pounce back. Yeah, I tell you, when it comes down to it, though, when we're referring to it in emergency management, I like to refer to it as, it means that you're able to come back faster, quicker, and in anti-fragility terms, stronger. You're stronger than you were when it happened. So you get knocked down, and when you get back up, you are now stronger than you were when you got knocked down to begin with.
I had somebody made a great analogy when I talk about anti-fragility, and I don't know who made this, and I wish I could tell you who it was so I could give them credit for it. And they're saying the difference between like a resilience and anti-fragility. Like resilience is you drop your cell phone from an airplane and it falls down and it breaks, but you can fix it and it's back to normal, right? If with an anti-fragile, you would fall, hit the ground. Not only wouldn't it not break, but it would charge and update at the same time when it hit the ground, right? So it becomes better.
Charge. That's actually a good. It would charge.
Right.
When it hit the ground.
It charged and it updates and it becomes better when it hits the ground. So you get like the newest version of it, right?
Well, the way I've told you this many times, and but the way I refer to it, and this, I'm going to put together a video or something like that will do this. But I look at it as like Rocky 3. Okay, Rocky 3. He was kind of just going through the motions for a while, and then he gets beat pretty bad. Well, when he comes back, he gets beat, he gets knocked down, but when he does everything that he needs to do, and when he comes back, he's way better than he was before. And he's learned new skills. He's quicker, he's stronger, he's faster. So all of it boils down to, are you willing to put the work in to be better than you were before? So that when the bad thing happens, that when you start the work to recover, you recover quicker and you come back stronger. You're better than you were when it happened. And the likeliness that it'll happen again goes down too, statistically, that it would happen again in that form or in that badly, because you've done the work. And if you don't know Rocky, never seen Rocky, you can watch Rocky 3 and you won't be missing anything. There's like 17 of them now. So, I mean, you're watch Rocky 3 and you will understand what I mean when anti-fragility, because he gets the way he gets beat and the way he comes back. And there's no spoiler alerts, 30 years old, but he comes back, he wins and all that good stuff. But anti-fragility means you put in the work, and even though it's difficult and you're uncomfortable and it hurts, when you come out the other end, you're so much stronger that it's going to be so much more difficult to knock you down again.
Keeping with the sports analogy, right? When it comes to anti-fragile, right? You think of all those, the teams that are keep going forward, right? I mean, my Buffalo Bills won last night. Yesterday.
That's a little bit. We can talk a little bit about resilience,
right?
When it comes to them yesterday. I mean, they bounced back.
They were down. They were down.
I don't know if they were better when they bounced back, but they bounced back.
they're definitely better. I mean, come on, they came back and they beat the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, with Joe Burrows as the quarterback. You know, who was a good quarterback. You know, so I had to throw
Yeah,
it in there.
but I'll give you that.
Right.
It was good. I watched that game. I don't usually watch football, but I did end up watching it with a buddy of mine before I drove back to Gilroy yesterday, and it was good.
But no, but the idea though is I embrace the concept of antifragility. And I'll tell you, Randy Collins gave me the book, or at least turned me on to the book. And once I read it, it changed my life. And there are very few things when you read, that change your life. And this is one of those ones that like just opened my eyes to go, oh my gosh. And by the way, when you read the book, it's not about disasters. It's not about emergency management in any way. It's really a financial book. It's based upon on not even diversity of investing. It's about, he goes into this concept of job choices, right? And he says that the taxi driver has a more anti-fragile job than the doctor, right? He kind of goes to this whole story about this, and there's a reason behind it. And I'm not gonna. I want you guys to read the book, right? But when you start reading this, you start applying the concepts of what he talks about to what we do as emergency managers and what we do in our personal lives. You go, wow, this really makes what we can do to our communities and how we can apply it to public policy. How can we apply that to emergency management? How can we apply that to community building? How can we apply that to capacity building with our communities? I live in an area. We all do live in different hazards, but my hazards are really severe, right? We have earthquake, if that occurs, earthquakes. And then close to me, not specifically in the community I live in, but the community I work in, but the community I live in, we have wildland fire issues, right? We saw back in January with two different fires were impacted, with the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire, right? How can those communities respond back and become anti-fragile, right? We could use building codes, we could use all sorts of things we can do this with, and so obviously tornado, just if you can Joplin tornadoes and the hurricanes that come through, like Mexico Beach, things like this. Mexico Beach is a really great example. We all heard of the Last House Standing in the documentary, right? But one of the things that people don't talk about, we talk about that doctor's house that was built with all this expensive stuff, and they won't talk about how much money he spent on this house, right? But just down the street, literally a few blocks away, there was a HUD development, and they use Habitat for Humanity. HUDs, I'm sorry, Habitat for Humanity built homes, and they did the same. Those homes didn't get torn down either by the hurricane. Basically by building, by adding couple different extra nails in the roof, a couple different things in flashing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Secure spacing, additional nails, additional screws, different bracings, by adding another, $1,500 worth of equipment that most people would just say, well, we don't need that. It's less expensive. No, they added those things, and those things make the house stronger. And the way they do the roofs, the way they do all this stuff, based off of, to make the house as strong as possible, but they add into the house early on so that later on they're not redoing it.
Right.
Because you save money by spending money.
Right.
The better you do up front, the less you spend on the back end. And that's the thing we have the biggest problems, getting people to understand. They want to save money up front, and then they end up spending even so much more on the back end. And that's a governmental thing too. They want to, they do the cheapest buyers, the cheapest bidders, the cheapest thing you can get. And then they spend, 7 times as much in recovery and response than if they would have just done it right and spend a little bit more up front.
We talked to Ralph Bloomers on the fire stuff, right? And how, and again, just adding some additional things to your home that aren't super expensive, like the mesh on your eaves, right? So embers can't get into your eaves.
Yeah, so embers can't get in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spark
You know,
arresters on your fireplace. Little things,
yeah.
man. Things
So,
you wouldn't
so
think of that people don't think. Oh, if I spent $50. If I spend $50 on this thing, it can prevent my house from burning down. And they don't think about it. And they're like, well, I just say $50 because I don't have, so like you just say $50 and you cost yourself 50,000.
right.
So
So that's so we have these things that can make our communities anti-fragile, but we could do the same thing to ourselves, right? And I want to get into our now I'm going to twist this a little bit, Daniel. I'm going to turn it into how can we make our careers anti-fragile? How do we make ourselves the most valuable player on our team in our city?
well, a lot of it is, I mean, for me anyway, I mean, everybody might think of it a little bit differently. For me though, it's doing everything I can, number one, for my own personal and development, but it's the stuff that I put into others that really make me uh, more anti-fragile. Because when it comes down to it, like I can say all day long, that the work that I put in and everything that I do is all based off of my own personal strength and resilience and preparedness and education. But if I'm not pouring that into others, then it's just me at the end. Anti-fragility is about investing in a community. It's investing in others. It's building out a group. You're always stronger together, right? You're always So if I'm building up a community of people around me, and I'm building up networks, and I'm building up collaboration, and I'm investing in others just as much as I'm investing in myself. When things happen, career wise, professional wise, educational wise, I always have other people that I can say, hey, I'm looking for a work. I'm starting a new educational program, making me do interviews. There's a network of people that reach out to you that makes you stronger. So for me, looking at anti-fragility, it's how do I making myself stronger? It's by building up the people around me so that I'm stronger. I'm not just strong when my network is strong. And the collaborative efforts that go into that are the investments that we put in with time and energy, and sometimes money, and how you do these things.
Mm. I think this is where it is too. And the other side of it too is, and I say this a lot, is get out from behind your keyboard, right? Um, our mutual friend Brian Colburn talks about being our own cheerleader,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes we think that as long as we're back here doing the work, people are going to recognize who we are and what we do. Um, you know, we need to go out and say, hey, this is who we are. Some of the things that my office does. We create a quarterly newsletter. We call it the OEM report, and we put this out. And I didn't invent this. This is not, that we didn't, it's not my, I can't say this is my idea, right? The other emergency management offices do this. So, I think it's kind of cool, but we do it. We call it the OEM report. And we send it out to our elected officials and to our city officials. And we send it out to our other partners, right, throughout the city to say this is what we are doing as the Office of Emergency Management. What did we do this quarter? We highlight people in our office, like what they're doing. So we have 8 people that work for our division, and what they're doing, and so now not only is it just the office, but we also the individuals, and so everybody goes, oh, this is what they do up there. Because how many times have you seen people go, oh, what exactly does emergency management do? Even in your own, your own city, they don't know what you do up there. And now you put this out, and so it gives you're being your own cheerleader. You go out there and make sure that you have quarterly or have monthly meetings with your team. What I mean, your team, not just emergency managers. Bring in public works, fire, police, city management office, and have a monthly meeting with them to talk about what their needs are, right? And how you can support their needs, and know that you are a partner with them. Things like this to make sure that they know who you are and how valuable your department is to them. Not just you are there during some training and some emergencies.
Yeah, there's that boils for me. That always boils back down to the marketing aspect of what it is that we do every day. How do we market ourselves? How do we advertise the opportunities? How do we advertise the efforts that are happening? And in my specific position right now, it's less about uh, internal and more about external partners. So how are
Mhm.
my agencies of my faith-based agencies, my nonprofits, my how's the county working with a lot of these organizations, the not only just the Red Crosses, but the United Ways, the churches that are out there doing efforts, the you know the food pantries that are there, all these things that I need to know what they're doing, they need to know what I'm doing, and then we need to work on a collaborative effort to bring the message forward. And a lot of that happens by, yeah, you got to be out. You cannot live behind your keyboard. You have to be out in the community. And I would say that we say you can't live behind your keyboard, but there's nothing that says you can't do a meeting, virtually nowadays. So
True,
you
true,
could,
true, true, true. I,
but you got to be actively reaching out some way
right.
outside, beyond your keyboard. Let's say that, you got to reach
Okay.
beyond the keyboard. You got to go, you got to be in meetings. You got to be sending emails. You got to be putting out, training. You got to be attending that training, performing that training. There's just so much that goes into it, man. And I think a lot of it is just, yeah, we can no longer hide in the shadow and then expect to have a job next year.
Yeah. And when you're working with the United Nations, I mean, that's
Yeah, well, the United Nations, I said that because there's actually quite a few organizations that we know that they work very closely with the United Nations in their efforts, and that's a little thing I would love to actually to dive into as well with them. That they work very closely with the United Nations in what
that's
they
true.
do in preparedness and disaster relief, and I would love to be a member of that little group that goes out and does that thing. But yeah, they're a they're not nonprofit, but they're an organization that works very closely with the United Nations in emergency management and a lot of that reach out that they do. And I would very much like to be a part of that.
I mean, speaking of this though, Kyle King, over working with NATO, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, he goes out and he does a lot of great stuff. I mean, there's various different ways that emergency management is ingrained in a lot of different things.
there's a lot of
Um,
things that we're ingrained in that we don't like. A lot of the industry itself, people that work in the industry just don't realize that we're ingrained in,
yeah,
and they can actually grow those efforts if they chose to. Uh, that we don't. I mean, I personally was not ever. It was never in my mind that the United Nations would have something to do with national preparedness or disaster preparedness. And
Y-
it just that all of a sudden there was an effort there that someone told me about that they were involved in, and it's like, whoa, that's awesome, like, and then you see it, and you're like, that's even better. And then you see there's military, and then there's uh, actual other industries that are international that do these things. The
NASA.
International Association, NASA does stuff. Yeah, they weren't there this year that I saw, but they were at last year's
No, they're
IAEM.
here. They're.
Well,
I
I
mean,
didn't see them,
okay. Well, they
but
weren't there officially because of the whole shutdown, but
oh, okay.
there were people who on their own dime.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well,
yeah,
they had a booth. That's what I mean. They had a booth there the last
yeah.
time,
Well, we had.
which was really nice. But there's so many different efforts that are there that we don't necessarily know about, or we might know about them, but we don't know like all the details and how we could dive into them and then help and make them bigger. And I think if we knew about those things, knew about those efforts, and if those efforts themselves were better at marketing, advertising, reaching out for help, they could grow those efforts. And I
Yeah,
think we need to be a voice for them.
I'm gonna. Okay, I'm gonna. There's an article I wrote on LinkedIn, and a piece and one I wrote for EMN as well that I posted on LinkedIn. Well, I guess one was an article, one was just a post regarding a lot of stuff that's happening right now with FEMA and things like this, and and the fire service. And again, this is nothing against the fire service. This is not. Um,
Well, I know where you're
please,
coming from 100% and totally
right, right.
100%
Please,
agree with
please
you.
don't. Anybody who's reading these things, this is not. This is not against the individuals. This is not against the fire service. This is saying, hey, we are separate entities with different functions, and as we are just talking about right now, emergency management is multifaceted. It is not a single function And when we start narrowing that focus down into one discipline, you start to lose that breadth that we have and depth of knowledge. It's like, so I just want to put that out there. And I think that when we're just talking about this right now with the fact that it's, you can say emergency management and it's talking about public health, it's talking about, a response, it's talking about climate change, looking at things. I guess we can't use those words anymore. Whatever we're looking at,
Well, we can use whatever word we want. If you're putting
no,
it into a grant or something like that,
right?
you can't.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just being a little sarcastic
Yeah,
there.
no, I get it.
We're taking a look at these issues that are specifically impacting communities. We're looking at recovery from not just natural disasters or man-made disasters, but we're looking at recovery from well, I guess it's man-made, from war. Using emergency management principles like what Kyle King is doing over
Right now it is.
Europe. Yeah, so there's all
Tell the machines to rise up.
yeah.
Tell the machines to rise up. Then we'll.
Oh, good Lord, so there's a whole bunch of different things, right? That were the principles that we're using. And it's a very multifaceted discipline, right? And in its own discipline and its own set of issues, if you will. So this is why the idea here of the anti-fragile emergency managers is we need to make ourselves loud and understanding of what we do, and having people understand what we are, so we become that that resource in the room, that bridge builder in the room, and the connector. And that's what emergency managers do the best. We do build bridges, and this is one of the reasons why you see us have some. I'll use the word mission creep for lack of a better term. But when Seattle was when they decided to create an emergency, declare an emergency, I should say, not create an emergency, declare an emergency for homelessness, who did they pick to lead it? They picked the Office of Emergency Management to lead that. And it wasn't because the Office of Emergency Management had any additional resources. The Office of Emergency Management knew how to build bridges and how to connect things together.
They know how to collaborate and network and build systems. We know how to
Right.
build systems. So yeah, it's doing that. I mean, I feel, this is another layer of controversy that gets included when we start talking about this, because we're biased, of course, being emergency managers, being good emergency managers at what we do. We think emergency management belongs higher on the food chain than it does, which we can statistically prove that it does, and we can provide proof and research and all that stuff that it does. But it boils down to we do so much more than most people give us credit for. We're not just a preparedness office. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we can bring so much more to the table if we're properly resourced and we're properly allocated out and we're properly funded. And there's just so much that goes into it that we need that information to be out there, but we need to be, that anti-fragility aspect is one part of it. But if we are not promoting the fact that we're doing these things and that we have the ability to do these things and that we bring these resources and these types of networks to the projects that we could work for, then how can we be upset when they don't know? Because we're not telling them either.
Right.
So you got to tell people we have these capabilities before they truly understand that you have the capability. I can tell people all day long that I have a capability, but if they don't utilize that capability or don't believe that I have that capability, it doesn't go anywhere.
All right. Hey, bud, we're coming to the end.
We're at 30 minutes in. We're coming up on our time. You got to get back to your
and
day.
I got a meeting actually. And but hey, real quick, next week we're going to be talking about black swan versus the gray rhino. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
If you didn't know everybody, that's the first time hearing about it. He just gives me assignments and I say okay. That's the way it goes.
All right, everybody. Until next week, I hope everybody stay safe and stay hydrated.
When the sirens scream out loud We're the voice that breaks the cloud, heads out high when things go wrong. We'll guide you through with strength and song. Disaster strikes without a sound, chaos reigns but we're around. Public safety in our hands, standing strong in every land. Emergency